You won't believe what just went down in Boulder, Colorado. Tensions are higher than ever inside the CU Buffs locker room, and this time, it's not about football strategy or Coach Prime's bold speeches. It's about a clash that nobody saw coming. Shedeur Sanders and Travis Hunter, two of the biggest stars on the team, got into what insiders are calling a little scuffle. But trust me, folks, there was nothing little about the emotions flying in that moment. Picture this: cameras rolling, teammates frozen in shock, and Coach Prime standing there like a storm was about to break loose. Fans say it all started with a playful shove during practice, but quickly escalated into sharp words, flaring tempers, and an intensity that left everyone asking, has the bond between these young stars been cracked? Rumors are already swirling. Was this about ego, competition, or something deeper? The locker room buzz is louder than the stadium on game day. And when Coach Prime finally broke his silence, his words weren't just directed at his players. They were a challenge to the entire CU Buffs family. What's next? Stay tuned, because this drama is only just beginning. The moment it all began felt almost unreal, like a scene out of a reality show that nobody expected, but everybody secretly wanted to see. Practice had been intense that afternoon, the sun beating down on the turf as sweat poured from every player. Shedeur Sanders was in his element, tossing tight spirals with that signature swagger, while Travis Hunter, ever the competitor, was locking down every receiver in sight. Teammates had been buzzing, the cameras were rolling for behind-the-scenes coverage, and everything seemed like another ordinary day in Boulder. But then, in the blink of an eye, the atmosphere shifted. What started as playful banter between Shedeur and Travis suddenly took on a sharper edge. A shove here, a smirk there, and then words that cut just a little too deep. "Bro, you think you're carrying this team? Without me, you'd be just another quarterback out here," Travis muttered, half joking, half serious. Shedeur's eyes narrowed, his jaw tightened, and his reply was anything but lighthearted. "Nah, don't get it twisted. This is my team. You're great, but you're not the one putting points on the board every week." The tension was palpable, teammates exchanging uneasy glances, some trying to laugh it off while others whispered nervously. Even the assistant coaches froze for a moment, unsure if they should step in or let the two stars hash it out. And then, like gasoline hitting a spark, the argument escalated. Travis shoved Shedeur just a bit harder, the kind of shove that said, "I'm not backing down." Shedeur responded with a push of his own, and suddenly the locker room was no longer a sanctuary of brotherhood, it was a battlefield of egos. Voices rose, accusations flew, and emotions ran high as the two young stars circled each other like boxers in the ring. "You ain't the leader you think you are," Travis snapped, his tone raw and sharp. "Everybody listens to you 'cause of your last name, not 'cause of your game." That line hit deeper than any tackle could. The room went silent for a split second, as if everyone realized Travis had crossed a line. Shedeur's face burned with fury, his voice dropping low but fierce. "Say that again, I dare you." And just like that, teammates rushed forward, pulling them apart before things could turn physical. Chairs screeched, water bottles hit the floor, and the energy in the air felt like an earthquake shaking the foundation of the Buffs' unity. In the corner, Coach Prime had been watching with an expression that was impossible to read. His arms folded across his chest, sunglasses shielding his eyes. He didn't raise his voice. He didn't even flinch. He let the chaos play out for a moment, and that silence was more chilling than any yell could have been. The players noticed, and so did the cameras. Fans who later saw the leaked footage couldn't believe their eyes. Social media lit up within minutes. Clips circulated with captions like, "Is this the end of the Brotherhood?" and "Buff stars in locker room meltdown." Everyone had an opinion, and the rumors multiplied like wildfire. Some fans defended Shedeur, saying he was right to assert himself as the leader. Others rallied behind Travis, praising his raw honesty and questioning whether the team had become too much of a family business. But inside that locker room, the real story was still unfolding. The heated words didn't end when teammates separated them. Instead, they sparked a wave of emotions that rippled through every corner of the team. Some players felt torn between loyalty to Shedeur, the quarterback who had carried them through countless battles, and admiration for Travis, the versatile powerhouse who never backed down from a challenge. Emotions ran high and whispers of betrayal crept in. One teammate confided to another, "Man, I never thought I'd see the day those two went at it like that. If they can't get along, what chance do the rest of us have?" Later that night, in the quiet of the players' lounge, the fallout became even more obvious. Shedeur sat with a small circle of guys who nodded along as he vented his frustration. "He thinks he's bigger than the team," Shedeur said, shaking his head. "But I'm the one putting in the work, leading every drive, taking every hit. He doesn't get it." His voice cracked slightly, not with weakness, but with the weight of carrying expectations too heavy for any young man to bear. On the other side of the building, Travis paced back and forth, surrounded by his own supporters. "He doesn't respect me," Travis insisted, his tone full of fire. "Everything is always about him, about his highlights, about his shine. I'm not just a sidekick, and I'm done being treated like one." His friends tried to calm him, but the hurt in his voice was undeniable. The division within the team was growing, like a fault line threatening to split wide open. And still, Coach Prime remained silent. His decision to let the storm brew without intervention only fueled more speculation. Some said he was testing his players, letting them reveal their true colors. Others believed he was disappointed, perhaps even questioning whether his dream of transforming the Buffs into a powerhouse could survive such internal drama. Behind the scenes, family members began to weigh in as well. Whispers spread that Shedeur's brothers were furious about the disrespect shown to him. At the same time, Travis's close friends outside of football were telling him not to let anyone, not even a teammate, diminish his worth. The drama spilled beyond the field, drawing in fans, families, and the entire college football community. And just when it seemed like things couldn't get any more intense, a shocking twist emerged. Insiders leaked that during the heated exchange, Travis had accused Shedeur of putting himself above the team, and some teammates secretly agreed. The revelation sent shockwaves through the locker room, sparking late-night arguments and tense silence at practice the next morning. Eyes followed every interaction between Shedeur and Travis. A handshake that didn't happen, a glance that lingered too long, a sideline conversation that ended abruptly. Every moment became a headline, every gesture dissected by fans and critics alike. The cameras captured it all, and the world couldn't look away. One fan tweeted, "This feels like a reality show, not a football team," while another posted, "Coach Prime needs to get control fast before this spirals out of hand." But for those inside the Buffs' inner circle, it wasn't entertainment. It was a storm threatening to destroy everything they had built. And then, in the midst of the chaos, Coach Prime finally broke his silence. Gathering the entire team in the meeting room, he stood at the front, his presence commanding the room. But instead of a fiery speech, he simply asked one question. His voice calm, steady, but heavy with meaning. "What's next?" The silence that followed was deafening. Every player felt the weight of the question. Every glance between Shedeur and Travis carried the tension of unspoken words. Coach Prime's challenge wasn't just about the scuffle, it was about the future of the team. The bonds they had forged, and the resilience they would need to survive the storm. But in that silence, one thing became clear: this was far from over. The drama was only just beginning. And the road ahead promised even more twists, betrayals, and heart-wrenching revelations. The silence after Coach Prime's question lingered like smoke in the air, thick and suffocating. "What's next?" he had asked, and those two words echoed in every player's mind long after the meeting ended. Some thought it was a challenge, others a warning, but everyone knew it was far from just a rhetorical question. It was a mirror held up to the entire team, forcing them to confront their fractures. Shedeur sat in the back of the meeting room, arms folded tight, his eyes locked on the floor. He didn't look at Travis, not once, but the tension between them was undeniable. Travis leaned back in his chair, his jaw clenched, trying to act unfazed but clearly boiling on the inside. The rest of the team sat between them like kids caught in the middle of their parents' divorce. Afterward, in the locker room, the whispers started again. "Man, this is getting bad," one player murmured to another. "Sus, Coach Prime's patience ain't gonna last forever." Another shook his head and added, "You can feel it, bro. This team's splitting in two." The split became clearer over the next few days. Practices were no longer about building chemistry, but about survival. When Shedeur called plays, a few teammates dragged their feet, barely hiding their frustration. When Travis made a big play, some players cheered louder than usual, as if to make a statement. The field itself became a stage for subtle acts. Of rebellion and loyalty tests, and every fan, coach, and media outlet could see it. One day during drills, Shedeur threw a perfect pass to a receiver, but the celebration was muted, almost cold. Minutes later, Travis intercepted a ball during scrimmage, and half the sideline erupted in cheers. The contrast was impossible to ignore. "This ain't football anymore," one assistant coach muttered under his breath. "This is war," the fans noticed too. Social media buzzed with theories and hot takes. Some fans accused Travis of being jealous, while others said Shedeur was acting entitled. One viral comment read, "This ain't about football, this is about pride. And pride always destroys from the inside." Another fan posted a clip of Coach Prime's question with the caption, "The man knew exactly what storm was brewing." Meanwhile, behind closed doors, emotions were spilling over. Late at night, in dorm rooms and private lounges, players vented about the growing divide. One group rallied behind Shedeur, insisting that as the quarterback and the son of Coach Prime, he had earned his right to lead without being questioned. The other group stood with Travis, arguing that talent and heart deserved respect, regardless of last names. "Look, bro," one teammate told another, "we can't win like this. The locker room's already broken. If this keeps up, the season's done." And then came the first shocking twist. Rumors leaked that Travis had considered sitting out a practice to send a message. The whispers grew louder when he showed up late the next day, his face hard and unreadable. Shedeur noticed immediately, and though he didn't say a word, his glare spoke volumes. That afternoon, during a particularly heated scrimmage, the rivalry came to a head. Shedeur dropped back, scanning the field, and just as he launched a pass, Travis made a move that left everyone breathless. He dove in front of the receiver, snatched the ball clean, and sprinted it back the other way. Teammates went wild, some running onto the field to congratulate him, while others hung their heads, worried about what would come next. Shedeur, furious, ripped off his helmet and slammed it to the ground. "You think this is about showing me up?" he shouted across the field. "You think you're making a point?" Travis smirked, tossing the ball lightly in his hands. "Nah," he said loud enough for everyone to hear. "I'm just reminding you, you're not untouchable." The field went silent again. Coaches blew whistles, trying to restore order, but the damage was done. The rivalry was no longer hidden, it was out in the open, burning like wildfire in the Colorado sun. That night, the story hit the media like an explosion. Local outlets reported on the rift between the Buffs' stars, while national sports shows debated whether Coach Prime had lost control of his locker room. "This could derail their entire season," one analyst declared. "If your leaders are fighting, your team is finished." The families weren't spared either. Whispers spread that Shedeur's brothers were furious at Travis for disrespecting him in front of the team. Meanwhile, Travis's closest friends were telling him not to let anyone, not even a Sanders, overshadow his shine. It was more than a team drama now. It was a family feud, a clash of pride and ego with no easy resolution. Coach Prime, however, remained silent. His silence only fueled more speculation. Fans wondered if he was quietly plotting a master plan, or if he was giving his sons space to fight their own battles. Some critics even suggested that his loyalty to Shedeur was making the situation worse. Can he really be unbiased when it's his son involved? One commentator asked on live television. Back in the locker room, emotions reached a boiling point. One evening, as players gathered for film review, Shedeur and Travis ended up sitting on opposite ends of the room. The tension was so thick that nobody dared speak above a whisper. But then, halfway through the session, Shedeur muttered under his breath, "Man, this is pointless if people don't want to be a team." Travis's head snapped up. "So say it louder, bro." "Don't whisper it." "Fine," Shedeur shot back, his voice firm. "You're too worried about yourself to see the bigger picture." The room erupted in gasps and murmurs. Teammates exchanged nervous glances, unsure whether to intervene or let it play out. Coach Prime, sitting at the front, paused the film, turned slowly, and fixed his gaze on both of them. "Y'all done?" he asked calmly. The silence that followed was unbearable, but neither Shedeur nor Travis backed down. Instead, they locked eyes, the air electric with unspoken rage. For a moment, it felt like the entire team was holding its breath. And then, almost anticlimactically, Coach Prime pressed play on the film again, refusing to give their feud more oxygen. That decision left everyone stunned. "He's letting them fight it out," one player whispered later. "He wants to see who breaks first." The weeks dragged on and the drama only deepened. Some players started avoiding team gatherings altogether, tired of choosing sides. Others tried to act like nothing was wrong, but the tension was always there, lurking beneath the surface. The media frenzy showed no signs of slowing down. Every small gesture between Shedeur and Travis became a headline. A missed handshake turned into beef confirmed. A sideline conversation became attempted truce. The world was watching, and the pressure was suffocating. And just when it seemed like the cracks couldn't get any wider, another shocking twist emerged. Rumors leaked that Travis had been approached by people outside the program, encouraging him to think about his future and not tie himself to a team where he felt disrespected. The whispers grew louder, and soon fans began speculating whether he might transfer. The thought sent shockwaves through the Buffs fan base. "If Travis leaves, the season's over," one fan tweeted. Another replied, "Nah, if he leaves, it proves this team ain't built to last." Inside the program, the tension reached unbearable levels. Players began to wonder whether Coach Prime would finally step in and make a decision. Would he back his son no matter what? Or would he risk alienating his family by siding with Travis? As practices grew colder and whispers louder, the question that haunted everyone was the same one Coach Prime had asked from the very beginning. What's next? And deep down, everyone knew. The answer was coming soon, and it would change everything. The whispers about Travis possibly leaving spread faster than wildfire. One day it was just quiet murmurs in the locker room. The next it was the headline of every blog, tweet, and late-night sports show. "Is Travis Hunter done with the Buffs?" Screamed across timelines while talk radio hosts debated whether this was the beginning of the end for Coach Prime's dream team. Shedeur heard the chatter too, but his pride wouldn't let him show concern. When a teammate cautiously asked, "Yo, you think Travis would really dip?" Shedeur just smirked and shook his head. "Nah, he ain't going nowhere. He just likes the attention." But deep down, behind that calm front, he wondered if maybe, just maybe, he had pushed his brother in arms too far. Travis, on the other hand, was tired of the noise. He confided to a close friend, "I love this game, I love this team, but I can't keep feeling like I'm in someone else's shadow. If they don't respect me here, maybe I should find somewhere that will." The friend leaned in, lowering his voice as if the walls could hear. "Bro, the fans love you. But right now, the drama's bigger than the game. You gotta decide what matters more, your pride or your place here." Meanwhile, Coach Prime continued his silence like a chess master letting his pieces move before making his next big play. His calm demeanor drove everyone crazy. Assistant coaches begged him to intervene. "Coach, the locker room's breaking apart." "We can't let this keep going," one whispered late at night. But Coach Prime only replied, "Pressure makes diamonds, or it crushes coal. We'll see which one they are." At practice, the tension was unbearable. Teammates stopped talking during drills, afraid that anything they said would be taken as choosing a side. One group huddled closer to Shedeur, the other followed Travis's lead, and the middle ground shrank smaller by the day. And then came the moment that nobody saw coming. During a team scrimmage, Shedeur called a play that would highlight him and his go-to receiver. But as the ball snapped, Travis stepped in front, shutting down the route with brutal precision. The play was dead and everyone knew it. Shedeur ripped his helmet off, stormed toward Travis, and shouted, "You always gotta make it about you!" Travis fired back instantly. "Nah, you just can't stand it when you don't shine." The two were face to face now, teammates holding them back as their voices shook with fury. The air buzzed with tension, cameras rolling and fans in the stands clutching their phones to capture every second. It was no longer just a scuffle, it was a showdown, raw and unscripted. "Bro, you think you're the king 'cause of your dad?" Travis snapped, his words sharp as knives. "But when it's game time, it ain't your name making the plays." "It's mine too," Shedeur's chest heaved as he shot back. "Don't talk about my family. You don't know what it's like carrying that weight." For the first time, the anger shifted into something deeper. Pain, vulnerability, the kind of honesty that only comes out when emotions explode. The team fell silent, realizing this was no longer just about football. It was about pride, family, identity, and the crushing pressure of being in the spotlight. Coach Prime finally rose from the sideline, his presence like thunder rolling across the field. He didn't yell. He didn't bark orders. He simply said, "Enough." His voice carried more weight than any scream could. The players froze, Shedeur and Travis still locked in a stare that could burn holes through stone, but instead of punishing them, Coach Prime turned to the rest of the team. "Y'all see this? This is what happens when the focus shifts from we to me. So I'll ask again, what's next? His words sent chills through the entire squad, because it wasn't just a question for Shedeur and Travis anymore, it was for everyone. How would they respond? Would they fracture completely, or would they find a way back to unity? Later that night, the story exploded online. Clips of the on-field shouting match went viral, fans dissecting every word, every gesture. "This is reality TV disguised as college football," one fan posted. Another wrote, "Coach Prime letting this play out is genius. He's either building warriors or exposing frauds." Inside their separate worlds, Shedeur and Travis wrestled with emotions that wouldn't let them sleep. Shedeur sat alone, scrolling through social media, the weight of criticism pressing down on him. Some fans called him selfish. Others accused him of riding his father's coattails. He clenched his fists, muttering to himself, "They don't know what it takes. They don't know what I go through." Across town, Travis sat in his car outside the stadium, staring at the field through the windshield. He thought about leaving, about starting fresh somewhere else, but the idea of walking away from the Buffs made his chest ache. "Am I really ready to give this up?" he whispered into the night. The next morning, practice was quieter than usual. Players avoided eye contact, walking on eggshells. The staff tried to keep things normal, but the energy was heavy, almost suffocating. During drills, Travis barely spoke, while Shedeur barked orders with extra sharpness, as if trying to prove he was still in control. But then, an unexpected twist shook everything. A group of alumni visited practice, old Buffs legends who had once worn the same jersey. They spoke about unity, about brotherhood, about leaving personal pride at the door. One of them pulled Shedeur aside, saying, "Listen, son, talent will take you far, but ego will take you nowhere. You gotta decide what kind of leader you want to be." Another pulled Travis aside, whispering, "Respect ain't given, it's earned every day. But you also gotta respect the people around you." Even when it's hard, the words planted seeds in both their minds. But the storm was far from over, because later that evening, an even more dramatic revelation dropped. Sources close to the program leaked that some boosters were pressuring Coach Prime to make an example of one of the stars. The whispers suggested that if things didn't improve, drastic measures might be taken, benching, suspensions, or even encouraging one of them to transfer. The news hit the team like a bomb. "No way Coach benches his own son," one player muttered. Another replied, "Nah, Travis is too valuable to lose. But someone's gotta pay the price." The idea that this feud could end with one of their stars leaving sent shockwaves of fear and uncertainty through the locker room. Practices became tighter, conversations sharper, and every glance between Shedeur and Travis felt like a countdown to something explosive. And in the middle of it all, Coach Prime stayed steady, never revealing his hand. His message never changed, "What's next?" But deep down everyone knew. The answer was coming. And it was going to shake the Buffs to their core. The whispers about boosters forcing Coach Prime's hand grew louder by the day, and soon it wasn't just whispers anymore. It was full-on rumors swirling around the campus. Players scrolled through their phones only to see headlines like, "Insiders claim Q-Buffs drama could end in suspension," or "Which star will Prime choose?" The tension reached a fever pitch, and every player knew the storm was about to break. In the locker room, the divide had never been clearer. One half of the team sat with Shedeur, loyal to their quarterback and the man they saw as the heartbeat of the offense. The other half gravitated toward Travis, the versatile powerhouse who had carried them on both sides of the ball. Teammates who once laughed and joked together now barely spoke, afraid of being accused of picking a side. Shedeur's frustration boiled over one night when he slammed his locker shut and shouted to anyone who would listen, "I've done everything for this team. I bleed for this team. And y'all still question me? Now I'm done being disrespected." His words echoed through the room, raw and jagged, leaving an uncomfortable silence in their wake. Travis, sitting a few lockers down, finally stood up, his voice calm but sharp. "Nobody's disrespecting you, bro. We're just tired of it always being about you. Football's a team game. It ain't the Shedeur show." The room went cold. Eyes darted between the two, waiting for another explosion. But this time, something shifted. Instead of shouting back, Shedeur's face softened for just a second. He looked around at the teammates who had once followed him without question and realized their loyalty was fractured. Later that night, Coach Prime called a private meeting. Only Shedeur and Travis were invited. The room was dimly lit, the atmosphere heavy. Prime sat at the head of the table, sunglasses on, his voice steady. I've let y'all go at it. I've let y'all show me who you are. Now it's time to face the truth. Shedeur leaned back, arms folded, trying to mask the storm inside him. Travis sat forward, elbows on his knees, his eyes burning with intensity. Prime continued, "This ain't just about football. This is about character. You two got the chance to lead this team to something special, but instead, you're tearing it apart. So here's the real question. What's next? Do y'all want to be remembered as legends or as the reason this team fell apart?" The silence that followed was suffocating. Shedeur finally spoke, his voice low. "I never wanted this to be a war, but he called me out in front of everybody. He made me feel like I don't deserve to be here," Travis shot back. "And you act like I'm just your sidekick. I put in the same blood, sweat, and tears, but it's always about your name." "You don't see me," Coach Prime leaned forward, his words cutting through the tension. "And there it is. Pride. Pride will eat y'all alive if you let it. I can't make y'all respect each other, but I can sure as hell remind you of one thing. This game don't care about your egos. The scoreboard don't care about your feelings. Either you figure this out, or one of you is gone. Period." The weight of those words hit both of them like a punch. The idea of losing their spot on the team, of being forced out because of ego, was a reality neither wanted to face. The next day at practice, the energy was different. The standoff was still there, but something about Prime's ultimatum had shaken them. For the first time in weeks, Shedeur and Travis actually looked at each other during drills. The air was still heavy, but there was a glimmer of something new, acknowledgement. And then came the pivotal moment. During a scrimmage, Shedeur launched a deep pass. The receiver was covered tight, but somehow Travis leapt into the air, snagged the ball with one hand, and crashed to the ground. The crowd went wild, teammates gasping at the impossible play. Everyone looked to see what would happen next. Would Shedeur scowl and walk away? Would Travis gloat? Instead, something shocking happened. Shedeur jogged over, extended his hand, and pulled Travis up. "Hell of a catch," he said, his voice steady. Travis, surprised, smirked and replied, "Hell of a throw." The sideline erupted, not in division, but in relief. For the first time in weeks, it felt like the team was breathing again. That small gesture didn't fix everything overnight, but it cracked the door open for something bigger. Over the next few practices, the two slowly began to acknowledge each other's greatness, complimenting instead of competing. Teammates noticed and followed suit, the locker room tension easing bit by bit. But the media wasn't ready to let go of the drama. Reporters hounded them, asking if the feud was over, if one of them had considered leaving, if Coach Prime had threatened them. Shedeur brushed it off with a cool, "We're brothers, man." "Sometimes brothers fight," Travis added. "Ain't no story here. We're locked in." But everyone knew the scars were still there, just hidden under the surface. Behind closed doors, Prime warned them both. "Don't mistake peace for weakness. I'll say it once more. What's next is up to y'all. Don't waste this chance." The season loomed, and with it the chance to prove whether their fragile truce could hold. Fans remained divided, some still convinced the feud would resurface, others hopeful that the drama had forged something stronger, and yet, as the Buffs prepared for their next big game, the question hung in the air like a cliffhanger on a reality show. What's next? Would Shedeur and Travis truly bury the hatchet, or was this just the calm before the storm? Would the team rally behind their stars, or would the cracks reopen under pressure? One thing was certain. Every fan, every critic, every player knew they were witnessing more than just football. This was family drama, ego clashes, and redemption arcs colliding on the biggest stage. And nobody could look away. And just like that, Buffs Nation, we are left hanging on the edge of our seats. The scuffle between Shedeur and Travis may have cooled for now, but let's be real. The tension hasn't disappeared. The words were said, the wounds were made, and even if the handshake on the field gave us a glimmer of hope, we all know this story isn't over. Questions linger like storm clouds over Boulder. Can these two truly move past pride and play for something bigger than themselves? Or is this fragile truce just the calm before another explosion? Coach Prime's challenge still echoes louder than the cheers in Folsom Field. What's next? Those two words aren't just for his players, they're for all of us watching this saga unfold. What's next for the Buffs season? What's next for the bond between stars who once felt like brothers? And most importantly, what's next for the future of this program if egos keep clashing with destiny? Fans are divided, emotions are running wild, and the spotlight is brighter than ever. Some believe this feud will forge steel, others think it's a ticking time bomb waiting to blow. Either way, one thing is certain. This is the kind of drama that keeps us locked in week after week. So now we turn it over to you. Do you think Shedeur and Travis have truly squashed the beef, or are we just moments away from another blow-up? Drop your thoughts in the comments, we want to hear your theories. And if you're loving this behind-the-scenes drama, don't forget to hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and ring that bell so you never miss a single twist in this story. Because trust me, with Coach Prime and the Buffs, the drama is only just getting started.